Captain Midnight.
This video will contain spoilers. When Toy Story 5 was announced, it was not a surprise. Once they decided to move past 3, it seemed obvious they'd just keep going. And despite not being a big fan of Toy Story 4, the concept for this one seemed really promising right from the start. Bonnie gets a tablet. A one-sentence pitch that immediately carried some weight. This is a decades-old movie series take on the issues and anxieties of being or raising a kid in 2026. It felt like the perfect fit for the Toy Story movies, which have always had its characters confront losses and the inevitability of change. And its trailers promised a new character, Lilypad, a tablet villain that would change everything about our toys' lives. Did it deliver? As a movie, I enjoyed it. It's not up to snuff with the original trilogy, but I think there's plenty to like here, and I will touch on that. But what I found most interesting, and where I think it comes up short, is in its depiction of technology. It effectively sets up its premise, a world obsessed with tech in a way that stretches far beyond Bonnie. And I think it starts so well. But by the end, I have to say, I found how it resolved its central conflict disappointing and maybe even a little cowardly. That may feel a little harsh, but in a movie that does a lot right, it's the way it ducks its most interesting element that holds it back from reaching the lofty heights of the first 3.
Buzz has superhuman strength. Woody's fast on his feet.
Yeehaw!
And even faster on the draw.
So first, the setup. Bonnie is still happily playing with her toys all the time, shown in these well-animated play scenes that separate out the real world from her imagined one. Obviously, we've had memorable scenes like this before, especially in Toy Story 3, but I really liked the new take on play here, and I think it was necessary in this movie where the imagination of play has to go toe-to-toe with the lure of technology. And the tech shows up quickly. Bonnie is having a hard time fitting in, and I can't really blame her. If I had only aged a few years between 2010 and 2026, I'd probably have a hard time getting along with my peers too. Anyway, her parents end up ordering a Lilypad to help her connect, and soon Bonnie seems to be as hooked on her tablet as the rest of the kids, and really everyone else seems to be. That is something the movie hammers home over and over again. We see Woody out in the world helping toys that are being abandoned left and right. Before Bonnie gets her tablet, the neighbor kids' toys take Jessie to their rooftop, where we look out at everyone in the neighborhood just glued to their devices. Parents, kids, and later in the movie, everyone in this big house that they run through. Toy Story 5 cannot stop emphasizing how often people are online now. The days of a bored Sid getting creative and spending time blowing up toys are in the rearview mirror. Now everyone is an iPad kid. So the toys are up against something a lot more powerful than a bitter prospector this time. And to get a little too serious about this, the movie clearly sets this up as like an existential threat to toys everywhere. And in the early going, it looks like all their worst fears are confirmed. Bonnie is immediately hooked on Lilypad. She starts ignoring the toys to play games, and where the toys were really trying to work hard to help Bonnie find some new friends, Lilypad seems to be able to do it by joining a group chat in like 2 seconds. It seems too good to be true, and of course it is, as Bonnie's new group chat friends don't really turn out to be friends at all, more zoned out bullies. And this is where I think the film starts to show its hand a little bit when it comes to how Lilypad is characterized, because she is not the problem. The mean children who are able to communicate with Bonnie through her are. The Toy Story movies used to have actual villains. You look at 2 and 3 with the Prospector and especially Lotso, these weren't like secretly great, misunderstood guys. Yeah, they had sad backstories, but they sucked. They were selfish, ego-driven, and definitely did not have anyone's best interest at heart but their own. Toy Story 4 and now 5 go in a different direction, and that doesn't have to be a bad thing, but I think it's especially toothless here, with just how far the movie goes to portray tech as this all-consuming thing that's slowly turning the world of Toy Story into the universe of Wall-E. But at the same time, Lilypad turns out to just not be different than the other toys, at least not where it counts. Yes, she's dismissive of the toys at first, and more in touch with the times, like she correctly assumes that the other kids will see Bonnie taking toys to the sleepover as really lame. But she deeply cares about Bonnie, just as Jessie does, and just as Woody did about Andy. So the toys of the early movies were always worried about being chosen for a yard sale, whereas Lilypad is almost more selfless than them. The moment she realizes that the cyberbullying her screen has enabled hurt Bonnie, she throws herself in a donation box so that Bonnie won't be hurt again. Cyberbullying is the issue. All these awful other 8-year-olds are the issue, not Lilypad herself. Lilypad seems to have a heart of gold. This moment seems a little contrived to win the audience over to her side quickly. We see over and over again that she has access to her own settings at any time, and she could have easily just turned off the chat feature like Bonnie's parents do later in the movie. It seems like kind of a lazy way to pull on our heartstrings and put Lilypad firmly in the good guy camp, as if the group chat is really the only issue with tablets. That just seems like a pretty convenient message when you could buy one of these things in real life at Walmart for $30. But I can hear you objecting. Toy Story 5 actually goes to great lengths to show that tech can be incorporated into good old-fashioned imaginative play instead of taking it over. And that's true. The movie's best new character, Conan O'Brien's potty training tech toy Smarty Pants, and his sidekicks help show Jessie that actually tech toys and regular toys don't have to be so different after all. And they're all used well in the other kid, Blaze's play scene, where she incorporates them into a fun spy story. But I don't think Toy Story 5 really earns that message at the end. Smarty Pants and his dated tech pals are still very toy-like with their designs and big buttons. The movie tries to lay down this line where Jessie just lumps all of them into the tech group and the rest of her friends as regular toys. But really, Smarty Pants is a lot closer to Mr. Mike from Toy Story 1 than he really is to a tablet. No kid is in danger of becoming hopelessly addicted to his toilet training games. We see Blaze come up with all sorts of imaginative ways to use them. I think it's kind of telling then that in the final scene where all is right in the world again and Lilypad is used in a play scene, she's just like playing music. Because there's not actually that many ways that a slab tablet can interact with old-fashioned toys. As a conclusion to the Bonnie tech storyline, I think it just rings pretty hollow. We see Bonnie wanting to play games all day. We see that the first thing she does when she wakes up is reach for the Lilypad on the charging station. And these are not things that would go away just because she has texting disabled. I guess she stops being addicted to it because she has a friend now? That doesn't really work either. The other kids have friends, but they're still addicted to them. Is it just because every kid who isn't Bonnie or Blaze in this movie sucks? Like, is that why? What about everyone else the movie is showing us on all their devices all the time? Do they not have friends either? It's just not a convincing resolution. The movie sets up this massive change in the world of toys, something that's destroying the relationship that kids have always had with them, and it's kind of solved by the parents changing one setting. For a series that's always been focused on having its characters face and acknowledge real changes they can't control, they seem to sidestep this one entirely. The movie doesn't have much to say about how technology as powerful as an iPad impacts kids beyond make sure other kids aren't bullying them on it, which is a perfectly good message, but it doesn't get at the root of the issue here. It doesn't really show us why Bonnie wouldn't still just want to play App Store games all day. I feel like the more interesting path forward here was obvious, and maybe it was just one that Disney and Pixar didn't feel comfortable taking. Make Lilypad an actual bad guy, more focused on retaining Bonnie's attention and getting her screen time metrics up, not her actual well-being. Show iPad games as many of them really are. Microtransaction hellscapes designed to trick kids like Bonnie into spending their parents' money. And it's not like I think the movie needs to go full Luddite and act like there's no upside to technology. I actually think it would have been really interesting to see Bonnie use like a kid's painting app and have the toys have to confront that maybe there's some types of creativity that a tablet can bring to the table and that they can't. But if you're making a movie about how tech is sucking joy and imagination out of kids' lives, as we see in the first act, actually confront this situation honestly. An easy message about the dangers of cyberbullying is just not in line with the massive issue with tech that the rest of the movie shows us. Now, I've been a little harsh on Toy Story 5 here, but I've mostly been focusing on how it handles this specific storyline. As a Jessie movie, it's pretty effective. Is calling back to the sad Sarah McLachlan montage from Toy Story 2 a little easy? Maybe, but I will admit it worked on me. and I was happy to see Buzz be less sidelined than he has been in years. It was a very solid time at the movies, and with what it's making at the box office, I would bet on another one out in the next 6 years or so. Still, I can't help but feel like the seams are really showing here in a way that they haven't before. Toy Story as a series is about time, about enjoying the good years while you have them, and learning how to handle the inevitable changes that the passage of time causes. But Toy Story 5 seems less comfortable with change than Woody has learned to be. It's stuck in Bonnie's childhood instead of moving forward like Andy's did. It's trapped recreating the Woody and Buzz dynamic for a story that Woody really didn't need to be in. And it's leaning on our nostalgia for Jessie's story from the second movie to mine for its most emotional moments. All while the massive change that it sets up in its tech storyline just isn't resolved in a very believable or bold way. Like, they didn't really want to deal with the issue head on. I was happy to check in with the cast of Toy Story. Like, I love these characters. But it's hard to escape the feeling that at this point, they're kind of running in place. Now, one thing the Toy Story movies have always had a firm handle on is their own tone. That was a lesson that Vince Gilligan had to learn the hard way before he created Breaking Bad, and that tension is at the center of my latest episode of Showrunners, where he's the main focus. As the creator of some truly great shows, Gilligan had to guide enormous, complicated productions without losing what made them work in the first place. In this episode, I look at how he managed that balancing act, and why so many shows fail where he succeeded. And Gilligan is just one of the figures that I'm exploring. There's also an episode on Rod Serling, creator of The Twilight Zone. Every installment of Showrunners dives into the people behind some of the most influential series in TV history. It's a project I've wanted to make for a long time, and really a way to unpack how television actually gets made. If you haven't seen it yet, now's the perfect time to start. You can watch Showrunners right now exclusively on Nebula, where it lives alongside exclusive videos from creators like Lindsay Ellis, Nando V Movies, and other shows like CinemaStix's Let's Rewind. There's over 200 creators on Nebula now, and it's only growing. You'll also get all my regular videos there, ad-free. You can grab a 50% off annual membership for just $30 for the whole year, or about $250 a month. Head to go.nebula.tv/captainmidnight, use the QR code on screen, or click the link below to watch the Gilligan episode right now.
Here's a special tip for the fellas and girls who have not already joined Captain Midnight's new 1940 Flight Patrol. You'd better hurry up and join at once, because there's a big adventure ahead. The thing to do now is to get started, because we're going to have not only barrels of fun, but loads of free gifts and prizes, too.